Hello, it's me, it's Infomercial, it's Invasions, it's everything you've ever wanted and dreamed of. Shadow of the Erdtree trailer came out. Phenomenal, huge, super cool. I've totally exceeded my expectations. But I actually want to talk about something different. I made a little trailer breakdown video that you can check out on my channel. But I actually wanted to talk a little bit because I was having a conversation with somebody on Twitter, where it all happens, where the magic happens, and it put me into my mind palace. I'm thinking a lot about things. Just kind of a little back and forth conversation with another content creator, streamer, Souls gamer person, and they posted something that essentially said, like, I wish there was an opt-in system for invasions in co-op. Like, I wish there was a way to say, hey, I'm doing co-op with my friends and I don't want to get invaded. And if you want to deal with invaders, if you want to fight invaders, you can, activate an item or something like that to do that. But I wish there was a way I wish it was an opt-in system instead of a default system with co-op. And I think that is a sentiment that a lot of people share. And I get it, because there's so many games out there that function like that, where the goal is you're doing co-op, hanging out with your buddies, there's not going to be like interruptions. The invasion mechanic in Souls games is unique. And there's some other games that have sort of tried their hand at it and tried to do kind of their own version of an invasion system in their games. I think, things like Lords of the Fallen, right? Those Souls-likes that are trying to adopt aspects of Souls games and put their own twist on them. But really, I mean, if you want the invader experience, you're only going to get it in Souls games. But there's a lot of people on the other side of things who they're co-opers and they don't want to get invaded. And a lot of them probably have sort of similar opinions like this. How come I can't opt in to invasions? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about why I think From Software and the designers don't let you opt in, and why I think basically the games are designed in a very specific way that makes it so that if you want to do co-op, you do have to risk something. And I think that's kind of the essential part here that's interesting to me, is that idea of risk and reward in these games. And sort of the design idea that if you want to make the game easier for yourself, like if you want to summon online co-op help, then you need to risk something. You need to risk an invasion. And I think that's the majority of the reason why people co-op in this game. I mean, some people probably co-op for different reasons. They just want to hang out. They're not really concerned with making the game easier at all. But I think for most people, it's like I'm summoning a friend here or a random person to deal with this boss, to deal with this hard part of a level or something like that. And in Souls games, there have always been difficulty options in Souls games, but it's not difficulty options like you have them in other games, right? Like, you can't open up the menu and just select, like, well, I want to play on easy mode, or I want to play on hard mode today, or adjust the difficulty with like a menu option. The way that they let you adjust the difficulty is through things like weapon upgrades. And it's especially prominent in Elden Ring because of how open the world is. If you want to get like a plus 6 or 7 somber weapon right off the bat before you even fight Morgott, before you get into Stormvale, you can do that. And you can have a weapon that really kind of blows through early and mid-game stuff pretty early on. They basically just sort of throw these weapons and materials and spells at you. And if something's, challenging you in this game, then you can go and just go and level up and get stronger and come back to that challenge. And that was present in older games too. Definitely present in older games, but not to the extent that it's present in Elden Ring. So that's sort of one answer to the invader problem, the invader's dilemma, as I like to call it. I don't actually like to call it that. I don't know what that means. But basically, right, like if you want to have help with a section of the game, there's ways to do that that don't involve risking an invader coming into your world. You can use spirit ashes in here. You can get powerful ashes of war. Use the mimic tier, something like that. But to be fair, I don't think that's sort of what the original poster was saying. It wasn't like, I'm trying to summon help to help me with the game and invaders keep invading me and killing me and my co-op partners. It was more like I just want to enjoy co-op with my friends without an invader interrupting us. So again, very understandable, right? Getting invaded can be stressful, especially if you're not prepared for it. But I really hope that they don't do that. I really hope that From Software does not make it an opt-in system. I don't think that they ever will, because there's lots of other places where you can get that experience. If you just want to hang out with some friends and do PvE co-op, there's a million games out there that sort of offer you that experience, and even medieval fantasy Souls-like games too, where you can do something just like that. One of the most popular games in the world right now is Helldivers 2, which I spent the whole weekend playing. It's phenomenal. Super, super fun game. And that one's just, it's strictly PvE with co-op, and you can just hang out with friends, hop on voice chat, do stuff like that. But these games offer something unique. And I think that's kind of why I love them and why I love doing Invasions, is because you don't really get this experience anywhere else. And I think From Software knows that. I think they understand that this is part of the appeal of their games. These worlds and the stories that they tell in these worlds, they're about overcoming adversity. I've mentioned kind of before in videos, like the sort of the spirit of co-op in these games comes from this encounter that the director Hidetaka Miyazaki had, where he saw people helping somebody push a car down the road when it was snowy and the car was stuck in the snow. And these people were strangers, and they probably would never see each other again. And if you want to have co-op experiences like that in Elden Ring, I think it's more geared towards that. This feeling of this is a stranger who's helping me, and we're not voice chatting, we're not text chatting with each other. The only way we can really communicate is with body language in the game, where we physically are moving our characters, the gestures we're doing, the goals that we have in mind. You have to interpret that kind of thing from your friends. So that's a unique part of it. And also a unique part of these games is the fact that if you want to summon friends, you also might risk summoning an enemy as well. And it adds an extra layer of drama to these circumstances where you are fighting with somebody by your side, and then another player comes into your world with the goal of stopping your progress. It's dramatic, it's interesting, it makes for good content and clips and funny stuff sometimes, and you just don't get it anywhere else. And so I think that the mechanic of Invasions fits really well into the vibe and the atmosphere of these games. I think it's an essential part of these games because it tells a story, right? And it really fits the themes of cooperation, overcoming hardship and adversity. Because if you could just summon people and never face an invader, I think the game would be kind of trivialized. And you can sort of see From Software wrestling with that in designing Elden Ring, because they've already given you so many options to increase your own power relative to the enemies in the game, that they've had to, in my opinion, kind of overtune some of the enemies and areas and bosses, because they know that the majority of players are going to be using, for instance, spirit ashes, right? They're going to be summoning, not like co-op help, but they're going to be summoning help in boss fights. And so some of these bosses feel like they were designed for like a 2-on-1 fight instead of a 1-on-1 fight. And that's just kind of a personal gripe I have with the games. But there's, you know, they had this in mind when they were designing the game for sure. And I think that it's, you know, just part of the game that I don't want it to go away, right? I want these games to be accessible. I want lots of people to enjoy them. But I think that if it had some sort of like seamless co-op aspect with no invaders to it, it wouldn't be as fun for the majority of people as it is, and it wouldn't feel as unique and as special as it does. And also, I mean, just on a personal level, if you could opt into invasions, my channel would die. Like nobody would be opting into invasions. Absolutely nobody. Everybody would be doing co-op with that option toggled off, which means that every single like PvP invader person on YouTube would be getting 1% of the invasions that they get now. It would be impossible to get an invasion, to get clips, to get content, things like that. So, I mean, selfishly, right, like this is, that would kind of mean the end of my channel, I think, a little bit, if people could toggle invasions. So I don't want that to be an option. So anyways, that's kind of, you know, where I'm at with invasions in this game and why I think it's an essential part of these games. It does serve a narrative function, a gameplay function. It helps keep the content and the game fresh for people who are doing co-op, and it makes it so that it's not too easy. Because I think that if there's not that friction there, if there's not that fear, or not even fear, but like just the possibility of an invader, then I think the game might become too trivial with co-op, and it wouldn't fit kind of the vision that From Software has for these titles. I think that invaders are just kind of part of a healthy co-op ecosystem for these games. You know, it's like if you kill all the wolves in an area, the deer population skyrockets, and that affects the rest of the ecosystem, and it becomes unhealthy, right? There's an overpopulation of deer, and that's it's kind of a goofy way to think about invasions. It's not that serious at all, but I do think that it is kind of like an ecosystem a little bit. You have co-opers, you have invaders, you have solo hosts who are using the Taunter's Tongue, and all of these things kind of come together to create a unique experience. But if you remove any one part of that, it wouldn't be the same experience. It wouldn't be Elden Ring. So at the end of the day, that's kind of why I'm passionate about invasions. It's just what I like to do, and I hope that it never goes away. All right, that's the video. Thanks.